Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Gunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Deva Sadguru Brahma Vidvat Sadguru Brahma Vidvat. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Vyasena Gratitam Purana Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvamanusantatami Bhagavati Te Bhavatveshini Vyam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangha Kramo Panishadai Gayantiyam Samaga Dhyana Vastita Namanasa Pashyantiyam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidut Sura Surada Devaya Tasmai Namah Devaya Tasmai. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo. Hari Om. So in the 18th chapter, we have done up to shloka number 54. Last week, we had summarized the teachings of the 18th chapter from shloka 1 to 52. And then we did shloka numbers 53 and 54. So in 51, 52, Bhagwan talks about meditation. He summarizes the 6th chapter. As we said, the 18th chapter is a summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. And he says that one who is a meditator, one who wants to turn his mind towards the higher, he has to stay in solitude, control his mind and intellect, direct it to the higher, control his speech, and develop vairagyam, develop some detachment. You cannot be excessively attached to the world and also to God. Does not mean you have to wear orange clothes and go to the forest, but while working in the world, have an attitude of detachment and keep your mind on the Supreme Lord, who is the source of everything. And when you see the world, have no raga dvesha, don't have any likes or dislikes, because everything is Bhagwan. So towards people, towards objects, towards situations, have no like and dislike, accept everything as Bhagwan's. And then last week we talked in 53 and 54, Bhagwan says that these are the qualities you develop. And what are the qualities you give up? Aham karam balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham. So give up ego, the pride, give up arrogance, arrogance of power, desires, anger, and the desire to possess too much.
Can you give me that other book?
What other book?
Can you block?
Don't open.
Shh. Put on mute.
It is on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, you can mute your. Where is
It
she?
is not on a mute, Rama.
Yeah, just mute her. The iPad 4. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. So Bhagwan says, give up all these negativities, pride, anger, jealousy, greed, excessive possession of objects, and develop a detachment towards all these things. And then what will happen? Your mind will become quiet and peaceful. And such a mind can then be turned towards the higher. As long as I have pride, anger, jealousy, hatred, likes and dislikes, my mind will remain in objects. So that's what we had studied last week. And then Bhagwan in the 54th talks about the path of knowledge. So he has three shlokas, 54, 55, and 56. 54, he says that a person who has this right knowledge turns his mind and intellect towards me, tries to become one with me, and his mind is always peaceful. When my mind is turned towards God, it cannot be agitated, it cannot be, because he is peace, he is love, or she. If you worship the mother goddess, all gods are peace and love, and that is my true nature. And then he says, na shochati na kangshati, neither he desires too much, nor if something is going away, he gets disturbed. And such a person sees oneness in all beings. Everything is that divine, because everything is created by God. Just as mud is there in all the parts, mud is the essential upadan karana of all the parts. Gold is in all the ornaments. So Bhagwan, as the creator of this whole universe, is in the whole universe. And such a person, mad bhaktim labhate param. He attains my supreme bhakti, love for me. Now, what is bhakti? Bhagwan will explain in the 55th shloka, which we will chant today. 55, 56, and then how many ever we have time to do. So shloka number 55, chapter 18. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva Vishate tadanantaram. Together. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. So through bhakti, what is bhakti? Bhagwan explains, bhaktya, through bhakti, mam abhijanati, me, Bhagwan says, knows me. Here when Bhagwan Sri Krishna says I, he does not only mean Krishna, but I as that supreme consciousness, Brahman, who is manifested in this particular body, in this particular form, the avatar. So that is me, Bhagwan says. So when he says me, he identifies with the totality. So through bhakti, mam abhijanati. Abhijanati means knows very well. Janati means knows. Abhijanati means knows very well. He comes to know me very well. What does he know about me? Yavan is what? Yaha is who. Yavan, yaha. So what and who? Asmi tatvatah. So who I am and what I am knows not only as the son of Devaki and Vasudev, as the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, but tatvata, what is my true essence? He knows that. He or she, whoever the student is. And tato, then mam tatvato jnatva. Tato mam, having known me as tatvataha, in essence. Jnatva, having known me in essence. Vishate, he enters tad anantaram, without delay. So first we have to have bhakti. We'll talk about what is bhakti. Then know what and who God is. Know in essence. And then having known the essence, we have to enter into God. So what is this entry? Vishate, we'll talk about that. So when Bhagavan says bhakti, as we know, is love for God, is surrender to God, is complete identification with God. When we love somebody, bhakti is love, then we identify, like a mother loves her child, her whole life is in the child. Same way, whoever we love, we have to develop this oneness, this identification. So he says, what and who I am. So why does he use two pronouns? What am I and who am I? When he says what he means is as the total consciousness. I am that total what? I am that total consciousness which is pervading this whole cosmos, and everything is enervated by my presence as consciousness. So what I am. And then who am I? So who, he talks in the sagun form. So the what is in the nirgun form, in the formless, and in sagun form, he says, you see me as Bhagwan Sri Krishna, as the teacher of Bhagavad Gita, son of Devaki and Vasudeva, the destroyer of Kansa. So seeing God in the form and the formless. So for example, for a Shiva Bhakta, seeing the form of Lord Shiva sitting in meditation with snakes, three-eyed, that is Saguna. And what is Nirgun? Nirgun is that Shivaling. Shivaling represents the formless aspect. That Shiva is not only in that form, but Lord Shiva is also the substratum of the whole universe. So any God that I worship should be worshipped with that attitude. Yes, God is in the temple as Sri Krishna, Rama, Mother Durga, or whatever. Also in my heart as the life, as the consciousness. That's what we had meditated today on when we did the meditation on the Gayatri mantra, that which we do at 10:20 if people would like to come a little earlier. And today we meditated on Gayatri, that supreme sun god, that consciousness which illumines the world outside and also illumines my heart as the light of consciousness. So, as the form and the formless, both he knows me, and Tatvataha, he knows the essence. And what is the essence? It is Brahman, that substratum, the total consciousness, which supports everything. Even the form, even the formless are supported by that one consciousness. Lord Shiva and the Shivaling are all supported by that one Brahman. So that is called Tattvataha, in essence. And how am I to know that in essence? How can I, as long as I keep the ego that I am so and so, this idea that I am a man, I am a young, old, male, female, short, tall, husband, wife, mother, father, as long as you keep those identities, then you worship God with form, and which is fine, nothing wrong with that. God is my father, he's my mother, he's the, like that. You can worship in that way. But the moment you give up this identification, and that's what we do in meditation, that I am not only this body, but I am that supreme consciousness, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham. Shivoham, we meditate on that I am that consciousness, that is my true nature, and this BMI is my expression. So just to briefly go over the BMI chart, I know we can take a picture and post the BMI chart.
It's on the website.
It's on the website, but maybe for the WhatsApp, if we can post. We'll post it at the end of the class, the picture. But in this BMI chart, for those who are new, BMI stands for body, mind, intellect. So I have a physical body. Mind is my seat of emotions. Intellect is my seat of thoughts. So using the body, I become a perceiver of objects. So I see, hear, smell, taste, touch all the objects. With the mind, I become a feeler of emotions. And with the intellect, I become a thinker of thoughts. So as the body, mind, and intellect, I become the perceiver, feeler, and thinker. That is my individuality. The door is. That is my individuality. That is my nature. What do you call it? In the world, that is who I am. I am the perceiver, feeler, thinker. I use the body, mind, intellect to deal with the objects, emotions, and thoughts. And above that is V called vasanas. Vasanas are my tendencies, my habits. And how did I develop them? Through repeated actions. Repeated good actions will create good vasanas. Bad actions will create bad vasanas. So vasanas are tendencies which then lead to desires and then lead to action. So a person who has good tendencies, born with good, he will or she will live a good life. But somebody who has negative vasanas, selfishness, pride, then he will have negative vasanas, negative actions. So vasanas are my tendencies and desires, and which shield me from Om. What is Om? Om is my true nature, the inner light of consciousness. That is what I really am. We all are that, but we think we are this body, which is for functioning, it is okay for Vyavahara. But truly, we have to understand that I am that divinity and everyone is, not that I am divine and that person is a Rakshas. No, everybody is that divinity. So this is the BMI chart. So this ego is the perceiver, feeler, and thinker. As long as I think I am the body, mind, and intellect, my thinking will be limited only to me, myself, I, my family. How do I expand it? By seeing the one consciousness in all, one God in all. On the path of bhakti, it is my Krishna, my Shiva, my Mother Durga that has created this whole universe, and they are all me, including me. In the path of knowledge, that there is only one consciousness which is non-dual, Advaita, and that is the creator of this universe. So giving up this ego is the ability to see God everywhere in everyone. And then they say the world is outside and inside. So when I see the world outside with my open eyes, I see God everywhere. Everything is God. This chair, this table, this mic, man, woman, animal, bird, plant, they are all God. And when I look inward, I feel that there is some presence enlivening. That's why I'm able to talk. So that enlivening presence is also God. So seeing God outside and seeing God inside as my consciousness. That's why they say, Antar Bahishcha Tat Sarvam Vyapta Narayana Tishtataha. That Narayana, that Supreme God, is inside as life and outside as all the objects and the people and the things. And that consciousness is the hetu, is the cause of this universe, and that is the self alone. So the self within me and the self outside are the cause. Hetu means the cause of this entire universe. And how do I reach it? How do I reach this self consciousness? I'm so attached to the world, to things, to people. So Upanishads say neti, neti. Na iti, means not this, not this. So is the consciousness this body? No. Whatever you can say, this body, it's not. Is it this mind? No, na iti. Anything you say this, it is not. Is it this intellect? No, it is not. Is it this perceiver of objects? this feeler, this thinker. No. Whatever you can say, this, how about this world, these objects, these emotions that come in my mind, the thoughts? None of that is that supreme consciousness. Yeah, in the Vyavahar, you say God is in everything, but the essential nature of God is Om, the consciousness that is within and that is outside and that is supporting everything, is not visible to us, but we know its presence by the presence of life. When you see life, you know there is God. Even a plant growing or an animal, running or a bird flying, everything is that consciousness. And in the 15th chapter, Bhagwan Sri Krishna talked about Uttama Purusha, Uttama Purush to Anyaha. So there, Uttama Purusha in the 15th chapter is the same as this me that he talks about, what I am. So here we see that Bhagwan has covered the 6th chapter, the 15th chapter. All of the chapters are covered in the 18th chapter. From time to time, you will find the connections. Also the Upanishads, like Na Iti, that is from Upanishads. And then it says, he enters me. So how can I enter Bhagwan? What do we mean by entering? So when we hear the word enter, we think, okay, I'm outside the room and I enter the room. That is called entering the room. Or I'm outside the office, entering the office. So it is not entering in that physical sense that I go from one place to another. How can I go from here to God? God is not separate. How can I enter? So Gurudev explains it in his commentary. Some of you may have read it in the 18th chapter. He says, enter is that how a dreamer wakes up to become a waker. I'm in a dream or I'm in deep sleep. When I wake up, I say, I have entered the waking state. I have not shifted anywhere. I'm still lying in my bed. But when I wake up from my sleep, I say, oh, I have entered the waking world, the waking state. So waking up to that waking state is called entering. So here, when we say entering Bhagwan into Bhagwan, means waking up to Bhagwan's presence as my true nature. So waking up, that is called entering. Realizing that there is only one. I am not separate from God. That is called entering into God. And for a grihastha, for a householder, we say it is very difficult, to detach from things. So they say outwardly you keep working. You can't put on orange clothes and go to the forest, do vairagya. I can't do that. So outwardly you deal with the world as it should be dealt. My children, my spouse, my house, my car, my things. But internally you have an attitude of detachment. Detachment does not mean I don't love my children or my objects or my things, but the idea that I am fine whether this object is with me or not, whether I have this car or not, I am fine. Whether my child calls me or doesn't call me, I am fine. Does not mean I don't love them, but say he's busy, he's gone to college, and we say, oh, you must call every day, and he doesn't call for 2 weeks. I don't start crying. As long as he's fine, that's good. So the attitude that I am fine, or somebody didn't talk to me nicely, didn't smile at me. I am that supreme conscious. You want to smile at me, fine. You don't want to smile, I'm still fine. So that is called vairagya, that the ability to be fine in all situations, in all circumstances. So that's what he says. That is called entering. And for that, we need a firm conviction that that alone is the goal of life. So that understanding, when it comes, then that is called Mam Abhijanati. He knows me in essence. Then next he goes to, so this was, first he talked about Jnanam, then he talked about Bhakti. Now he talks about Karma. So all three are required. As we said, the intellect, the body for action, the mind for Bhakti, and the intellect for the highest knowledge. So he has talked about highest knowledge. He has talked about emotions. Now how to be with God and what to do with my body, that will be in shloka number 56. So chapter 18, number 56. Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano madhyapashrayah mad prasadadavapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. Together. Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano madhyapashrayah mad prasadadavapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. So with my body I have to act, right? Karmas I have to do. Bhagavan had said in a previous chapter that sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhe the karmana. Even to maintain the body, you have to have actions. Even if you're lying down and doing nothing, you are still breathing. You are still, your heart is beating. And then you have to get up and eat breakfast or food. So for karmas are required. So what do you do with all the karmas? Sarva karmani, all actions, api, all, and also sada. Sada means always. Kurvana, doing. How do you do the actions? Mad vyapashraya. Mad mean me, vyapashraya. Ashraya means taking refuge in me. जैसे ना भगवान में आश्रय रखो. So keep your refuge in me, keep surrender yourself to me, make me your support and always. And then what happens when you make God your support, you do actions all dedicated to Bhagwan, then mat prasadat, with my grace, avapnoti, he attains Shashvatam padam avyayam. Shashvatam means the eternal supreme abode, which is immutable. That supreme abode he gets. So one who has, as in three shlokas, knowledge, love, and actions, all three devoted to God, he reaches me and reaches my supreme abode. So what is sarva karmani? How is doing all actions? So Bhagwan Raman Maharishi says in Updesh Sar, Ishwararpitam Nechaya Kritam Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. Ishwararpitam Nechaya Kritam Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. So my actions, first of all, have to be dedicated to God. When I'm doing an action for God, how can I do an impure action, right? God is all love, compassion, kindness. How, if I'm dedicating and I'm saying I'm doing your work, Bhagwan, for you, I cannot be hateful, arrogant, pride, selfish. No, I automatically love God and love everybody. Ishwar Arpita. So all my actions I dedicate to God, and we'll talk about that also. And it says that na ichchaya kritam, and unselfish actions. So doing actions dedicated to God and doing actions for the benefit of society. Not what will I get out of it, but what can I give, not what I can get. We always think, mujhe kya milega? What will I get? No. What can I give to society? What can I give to this other person? And when I give, the God will give back. See, He is the karma phaladata. If you give, you will get much more than what you give. We think, oh, if I give, I will lose. No. If you give unselfishly, give for the benefit of mankind, for others, the supreme powers will give. So developing love. And what does it do? Chitta Shodhakam. And it purifies your mind. When my mind is working for God and doing things for others, automatically my selfishness, desire, anger, greed, hatred, all reduce and my mind becomes loving. And mind becomes pure, then all the negativities reduce. And mukti sadhakam. And then such a action, when it is done, dedicated to God, unselfish, takes me towards the higher, takes me towards the supreme consciousness, and takes me away from I and my. So then he says, Mad Vyapashraya. What is the meaning of Ashraya? What we do, we take Ashraya in, okay, what do I support? Oh, my family members, they will take care of me. Or I have wealth, I have a bank account, so that will take care of me. Or I have this position or power, and that Ashraya I take. Or government will take care of me, social security, all that. But Bhagavan says, no, make me your Ashraya, that Bhagavan will take care of me. That's it. Then you don't have to worry. Does not mean that you don't earn or don't work, but underneath you know that there is only one support, one, that is he and he alone. So make me your support, make me your ashraya, and sada, and always. So do all actions devoted to me, all actions for me. They say sometimes it's very hard to remember, to do satvik all the time. Sometimes might do rajasic or tamasic, or I might do some selfish action, or I might even do a wrong actions. I may do something forbidden. In all the scriptures there is like 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal. In Buddha's, teachings, there are the 8 instructions. In all the religions, there are all these do's and don'ts. So I may forget those. So they say, then what you do is put little reminders, like in your bedroom, put a nice picture of God. So when you open your eyes in the morning, you see that and you automatically turn your mind. Whoever your devata is, whether it's Krishna or Sri Rama or Shiva or Jesus or whoever that is, keep a little picture, keep a little reminder, maybe a little note, like if there is a very nice verse like this, Ishwar Arpitam Nechaya Kritam, then put that, make a little note and put it on your mirror, and every morning it reminds you, oh, I have to do actions unselfishly. So making notes on your car, put Lord's picture there and put a little note of the sayings. Or then we have these calendars where every day there is a new saying of Puja Gurudev Swami. So writing down or making notes will remind you of what to do. Talking about writing down, there was this older couple and they went to the doctor and they say, doctor, both of us, we forget. We are Abhi Umar over here and we are slowly forgetting, things I don't remember like I used to. So doctor says, I'll give you a suggestion. Start writing down. Whatever you have to do, write it down, and then that way you'll remember. Say, okay, doctor, will do that. So they go home that day after dinner. The wife tells the husband, honey, you are going to the kitchen. Can you bring me some ice cream? So he says, sure, I'll bring you ice cream. She says, write it down. He said, right, I'll remember ice cream. I'm not going to forget. And she says, on the ice cream, I want cherry. I want a cherry. Write it down. Doctor said, write it down. He said, no, ice cream with cherry. Isme kya likhna? Of course, I remember it. So, and she said, and I want whipped cream on top. Write it down. He said, no, ice cream, cherry, whipped cream. I know it. I'll bring it. Don't worry. So she says, okay. So he goes to the kitchen, comes back 20 minutes later, and he brings a plate with toast and eggs. So she says, looks at him, see, I told you to write it down. You forgot my coffee. You never listen. so, so we should, all of us are getting to that age. We should laugh because we'll soon be there. But the idea is that make little notes to remind you, and the repeated listening to like the Bhagavad Gita, reading these books. We have commentary by Swami Chinmayananda. Also, our talks are on first power. So repeated listening, repeated reading, all keeps the mind on these thoughts, and you don't go away. And then he says, Mat Prasada, with my grace. Bhagwan's grace is everywhere. God's grace is all the time there with us. That's why we are breathing. That's why whether we remember him or not, whether we praise him or whether we criticize him, whether we do puja or never go to the temple, whether I say I'm atheist, there is no God. God says, okay, whatever you say, I'll keep giving you life. I'll give you whatever you need, air, water, all whatever, this whole world I have created for you. So his grace is always there. He is always supporting us, but we don't turn our mind to him. And that's why we don't experience the full grace. So the example they give is the fireplace. You know, there is a fireplace in the corner of the house, and the house is very cold. It's winter, and the house is, and the heating is not working. So you light the fireplace, and one person sits close to the fire and he experiences the warmth. Other one says, I'll stay here. I'm working here. So if he stays away from the fireplace in the other corner of the room, he's not going to experience the heat of the fireplace. The fireplace is giving heat to everybody. But one who comes close to fireplace will get the heat and values it. One who does not value will miss it. So same way, God's grace is there. But if we turn our mind to God, then we feel his grace fully. If we don't, his grace is still there, but we won't feel that. So that is called grace. And as we said, with your body, mind, and intellect, with your body, you serve God. With your mind, you love God. With your intellect, you know God. So when you do all three, then your mind becomes one with God. And in Urdu, there is a very beautiful saying. It says, Teri raza me razi. Raza me means whatever you say, God, I am fine with that. Teri raza me razi. It's a very beautiful one. That Bhagwan, jo aap sochte hain, I'm fine with it. Whatever you do, I'm fine because that is your prasad. And how do we reach that abode of Bhagwan? How do we reach that supreme abode? So they say by reducing vasanas. As long as I have selfish tendencies, vasanas, God is screened from me. But as I reduce my vasanas, weaken them, that's why in Yog Vasisht, this teaching right away starts with Vasana Tanavam. Reducing the vasanas is moksha, and strengthening the vasanas is bondage. The more I have vasanas, selfish, the more I am attached to the world. The less vasanas I have, the more I attach to God, and ultimately experience God's presence as the supreme abode, supreme consciousness. So that is the meaning of Shashvatam Padam Avyayam. Because again, Padam does not mean some place in heaven or anything. It is to wake up to realize that my true nature is that. Oh, that is who I really am. And this whole universe is nothing but manifestation of that. And always keeping my mind with God. That is called Shashvatam Padam Avyayam, becoming one with God. I am not separate from God. All the saints teach us, all the Mahatmas teach us, the Upanishads tell us that God is only one, and all these are expression. You know, you can say Sri Krishna, Sri Rama, Mother Durga, they are all expressions of that one God, manifestations, and the whole universe is that, and I am also that. So when everything is God, I am also God. So that understanding, when it comes, that there is only one consciousness, is not separate from me. So God is not somebody sitting far away in Vaikuntha or Kailasha or in heaven. It's not my Father in heaven. The Father in heaven is right with me. God, who is in Kailasha, in Vaikuntha, is also in my true nature as myself, is me. And I am not separate. So that is called Shashvatam Padamavyayam. He reaches my abode, becomes one with me. Then he and I are not separate, Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells in shloka number 56. Now, Bhagwan continues giving more instructions. Actually, there are only a few shlokas of instructions left. After that, he will kind of summarize and the Bhagavad Gita. But this is a very nice one, shloka number 57. Chetasa sarva karmani Mai sanyasya matparaha Buddhi yogamupashritya Machitta satatam bhava Chetasa sarva karmani Mai sanyasya matparaha Buddhi yogamupashritya Machitta satatam bhava. So Bhagwan wants to strengthen what he had mentioned in the 55 and 56. He wants to hammer, just as a carpenter hammers the nail to make sure it goes deep in. So Bhagwan is hammering the idea so that we don't forget. And that is the idea. In this shloka, he is further strengthening what he has spoken in the earlier two shlokas. So mat chitta. Chitta means the mind, memory, mind. So mat chitta means putting his mind in me. No, sorry, 57. Chetasa. Chetasa means with the mind. Sarva karmani, all actions. So with your mind, all actions, mayi, in me, sanyasya. Sanyasya means renounce, renunciation. So the renunciation word worries us. Renounce means I don't know. We will explain what is renounce. Mai sanyasya and mat paraha, and make me your supreme goal. So renounce all actions mentally in me, make me your supreme goal. And what do? Use buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means buddhi is intellect, and we'll talk about buddhi yoga. And also in some places, Bhagwan has used in second chapter, buddhi yoga as karma yoga. So buddhi yoga is putting your intellect in me, and karma yoga, upashritya, having taken refuge in buddhi and karma yoga, mat chitta, make your mind in me, satatam bhava, always. And that is very, very important. Again and again, Bhagwan says, always. So spirituality is not, okay, going to the church or temple Sunday and doing puja. Okay, Bhagwan, my work is over, or early morning, I just do aarti for 5 minutes. Okay, that's it. No, it's not that. Or I come to Gita class for an hour and a half and then never open Gita for the whole week. Not that. It should be continuous study of that. Satatam bhava. And always keep your mind in me. How to do it? Again, it sounds very difficult. So we'll talk about that. So renounce or surrender, again, all actions, renouncing or surrender means God is the doer. I don't do anything. I am a humble instrument. That's why in the 11th chapter of Bhagwan. So we see every chapter is covered. He says, Maye nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyachachin. Arjuna was worried about, who all the people will die. I will be the cause. Bhagwan says these have already been killed. At the end of 18 days, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Duryodhana, nobody will be alive. I have already killed them. As karma, as kala, as time, I means as time. Bhagwan is kala as time. The time has already come. उनका समय आ गया, जाने का time has already come. All you do is become my instrument, because they are not going to live after 18 days. None of these Kauravas will be there. So you don't think that you are the killer. I am doing it. you be a humble instrument in my hand, just as a knife is an instrument, and the person holding the knife decides what the knife should do. Like I can use the knife to cut vegetables. I can use the knife to cut another human being and kill him. Or as a surgeon, I can use the knife to cut the human being and take out cancer, save him. So that same knife can be used for vegetables, for killing a person, or for saving his life. It depends on the motive of the person holding the knife. So same way Bhagavan says, I am the doer, you just be an instrument. Be like the knife, be like this. The arrow doesn't decide where it will go. It is the one shooting the arrow. So same way, I am the one working. So surrender all actions to me. Mai sanyasya mat paraha, and make me your supreme goal. We'll talk about that. And he says, Buddhi yogam upashritya. Buddhi yogam. So what is buddhi? Buddhi is discrimination. The intellect decides what is right, what is wrong, what I should do, what I should not do, what is beneficial in my life and what is not. And how does this buddhi get its knowledge? From the scriptures. The smart Shastram Pramanante, Bhagavan says. So here he's quoting that chapter also, that Karya Vyavasthita. What I should do, what I should not do is decided by your buddhi, which is guided by scriptures. So every action I do, I should see what does the Bhagavad Gita say. Will it please my Lord or not? Any action, because Bhagavan is not sitting in temple, he's sitting in my heart. So every action, will it please God or will it displease him? So that is buddhi, that is discrimination. So knowing what is right and then doing it, that is buddhi yogam upashvitya. Buddhi yoga also means karma yoga. So doing all actions dedicated to me and doing right actions, which are explained by the scriptures. And mat paraha, he says, make me your ultimate goal, your supreme goal, because we have so many goals in life. I want to become a doctor or engineer. I want to know this. I want to accumulate $1 million, $2 million. I want a better house. But all those goals are good. But the ultimate goal is I want to become one with God. That has to be the ultimate goal of every human being. That is the only purpose. Getting a human birth is only for that one purpose, becoming one with God, knowing God. Everything else is secondary. But what we do make everything else important, and God is secondary, tertiary, far behind. After all this is done, then if I have time, I will pray or I will study or I will meditate. No, that should become the number one. And what is my relationship with God? They say it should be a relationship of love and respect. So what do we mean by love and respect? Like say there is a prime minister or a president of the country. I respect him, but I don't love him. Oh, okay, he's there, let him rule. That is respect. And then my 2-year-old child, I love him, but I don't really respect him. He has to respect me if I am. So some people we love, but we don't respect. Or some people we respect, we don't love. But for God, you have to have both. You have to love God and you have to respect God. You can't say, oh God, because God doesn't do anything, he's just sitting. It doesn't mean I don't pay attention. God is every time watching and be with me at all times. So, but I should have a relationship of love, not a relationship of fear. They don't say be God fearing, they say be God loving. And when you love God and work for him, automatically your actions will be pure. So God should not be somebody to be afraid of, because develop a relation. So they have different relationships. Like God is my father or my mother, is the creator, has given me what I have. That is one. Then God is my child. Some people love God as child. Some people love Yashoda or Kaushalya loved God as a child. Then like Radha loved God as a beloved, or Rukmini. So you can have a relationship of beloved, you can have a relationship like a friend, like Arjuna. Arjuna and Sri Krishna were friends. So Sugriv and Sri Ram were friends. So you can have a relationship of friendship, you can have a relationship of love as a beloved, as a child, as a mother, father, as the creator of the whole universe. So different relationships you develop, but relation of love. I love God. And then you don't need to fear. Somebody you love, you won't fear, but do actions according to the scriptures. And then how do I increase this love? How do I? So they say, listen to kathas, listen to stories of Bhagavan. Every Tuesday, if those of you who are not doing it, log in from 7:30 to 9. If you need the Zoom link, I'll give you. And we have beautiful katha by Swami Tejomayananda ji. He has just started Srimad Bhagavad. He has just done the introduction. So every Tuesday, 7:30 to 9, you can hear beautiful stories of Bhagwan and Bhagwan Sri Krishna and Vishnu's avatars and all that. So listening to stories of Bhagwan, we just finished Ramayana for over 2 years, but next 2 years we'll be doing Srimad Bhagavad. So Tuesday, 7:30 to 9, listen to kathas, listen to stories of Bhagwan. Or otherwise also you have books, which have stories of God, and listening to that with devotion, that will develop love. When you know God, when you know all his leelas and how Sri Ramchandra ji, how he lived his life, how Sri Krishna took care of the whole world. So that will develop love. And then they say develop dialogue with God. Don't think of God as somebody sitting far away. He is with me. So talk to God. We have become a friend and say, okay, God, I am doing this, I am doing that. And feeling his presence all the time and having a constant dialogue with God, not thinking God is somebody far, but talking to him like a friend, like a beloved, or like a child, or like a mother or father. Just as our mother and father, we have no difficulty talking to them. So have no difficulty talking to God. So develop a dialogue, constantly talking. And then regular puja, people who are on the path of knowledge, they say, I am a jnani, I just want to study Bhagavad Gita. And this puja is for, ignorant people, who are emotional. Let them go to temple and sit and do puja. I'll just sit and study the Upanishads. I'm a great jnani. Or some people say, I'm a karma yogi. I'll work. But don't ask me to sit down and do all that. Is a waste of time. For ignorant people who don't understand philosophy, they can do puja. I am a jnani, I am a karma yogi. They say doing regular puja, if possible, every day or as often as you can. And sit down and take out time, not arti, fat, khatam kiya, and I'm gone in the morning. No, sit down and take 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, and put a little idol of Bhagwan. If it's Lord Shiva, put a little shivling, or if it's Sri Krishna or Sri Ram, and then offer, maybe chant 108 names of Bhagwan, or, 300 names of Lord Shiva. So first of all, invite God, do all the steps. I invite God in this idol or in this picture. And then I'm doing the puja. So do chant the names, or sing some of his bhajans, sing some mantras devoted to that particular form of the God. And then offer prasad. Don't just think, Are prasad, he doesn't eat. No, just the action of preparing prasad, or even getting a fruit, or cutting. So do that. And when you do that, then you are touching the prasad. And so you are offering with your own hand. Maybe if you have flowers in the garden, pick some flowers and offer, a petal each time you chant the name. So all your senses, your eyes are seeing God, your hand is touching the fruit, your flowers, you are smelling the fragrance, you are hearing, you're chanting the name of God, so you are hearing. So all your senses are involved in puja, and that's why doing regular puja is very important. Taking out some time, if you have less time, maybe even 5-10 minutes, but at least 3-4 times a week, take out about 20 minutes or half an hour and sit down and invite Lord, then offer him water. You are offering water, not just like that, but this water I'm offering becomes charnamrit, becomes nectar from your feet, and then you drink it as that. It's from Bhagwan. Whatever fruit you have offered, when you cut it and then you eat it, then that also, your eating sense also gets involved, taste, touch, everything. So all my senses should be involved in the puja, and that's how you develop relationship with God. You develop closeness with God. So do all three. Do some karma yoga every day, some service of God, some charity, some giving, some reading, some study of Bhagavad Gita or any beautiful texts, any beautiful text study, and some puja, some chanting, some remembering. And then the fourth one is meditation. In meditation, all are involved, your body, your mind, your intellect. So learn how to meditate and then do some meditation every day. I do have a video, half an hour, on what, why, when, where, how of meditation. If anybody is interested, please contact me afterwards. I'll send it to you. So doing all three, some puja, some service, some reading, and some meditation, all of them together will keep my mind in God. And Taman Maharishi says, Kaya Vangmana Karyamuttanam Uttamam Pujanam Japa Chintanam Kramat. So he says we have three equipments: Kaya, Vak, Mana. Kaya is body, Vak is speech, and Mana is mind. So Kaya, with the body, what do I do? Puja. With the body, I sit down and do puja of the Lord. With Vak, with speech, I chant the name of the Lord. So just 108 times, just do Om Namah Shivaya or Sri Krishna Sharnamama, even 11 times. Do it with feeling. But 108 times is good because that takes about 5 or 10 minutes or so. So just Om Namah Shivaya, spend some time chanting, or Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. So with the speech, I chant his name. With the body, I do puja. And with the mind, contemplate, meditate. Pujanam japa, chintanam krama. Chintanam means read about the scriptures, meditate and meditate upon them. So regular meditation. So all those three, when they are done, then such a person, it takes it higher and higher. So puja is with the body, chanting is with the speech, and contemplation is with the mind. So with the body, you are using when you're doing puja, you're using your mind, your intellect, all your senses. With chanting, you are only using your speech and your mind. But with contemplation, you're only using the mind with meditation. So that's how you progress. Do some puja, then do some chanting, and then ultimately sit and contemplate, sit and meditate. So here we have seen Bhagavan says that you think about me, you love me, you work for me, make me your ultimate goal, and you will reach me. Why? Because of my grace. See, by ourselves, we cannot reach. We need Bhagavan's grace. And how do I invoke Bhagavan's grace? By constantly remembering him with love. So that is what we have studied today, and that I know who is God and what is God, who is Saguna and what is Nirgun. So form and formless. So that is what we have studied today. We have about 10 minutes. If anybody has any questions, comments, can we put it on gallery? Need gallery. Just do that. Yeah, so I can see everybody now. Anji.
It is said that giving is worship.
Right.
And not demanding.
Right.
Just more elaboration.
Yes, that's true. As Uncle says, giving is worship. When you give, That is worship of God. When you demand, then that is not. Taking is not giving. That's true.
Giving is true love.
That is true. Giving is true love. Thank you. Yes, please, go ahead.
So when we talk about the BMI here on the chart, do vasanas control the BMI or
Yes.
BMI controls vasana?
Now, vasanas control become desires in the intellect, and thoughts in the mind, and actions in the body. So it is the vasanas that control, but I can change my vasanas. How did I create vasanas? By my own actions. By repeated actions, I created negative or positive vasanas. So through my correct action, I can change. Yes, so vasanas have been created by me, maybe in this life or in previous life. That's why we believe in continuity of life. So I may be born with certain tendencies, certain vasanas, like in a family. One child maybe is interested in sports, other one in music, other one in studies, so they are born with those tendencies. But then I can strengthen my good vasanas and weaken my bad vasanas with my discrimination. So the intellect can change the vasanas, but the vasanas are what controls. So I have to, but vasanas are deep seated, so it takes time. But yeah, that is how. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. Thank you. Anything else in the audience or on Zoom? Anybody wants to add anything or? Yeah, Carrie, go ahead.
I don't know if you've seen anything online or anything about this nurse in England that was recently sent to prison 13 full life terms for killing neonates.
Right.
As a nurse.
I saw that, yeah.
I just found myself thinking about that so much when I read about it. Okay, she was put in a good family. She was a good person. She studied. She's very studious. She never got in trouble with the law. She had transmit. She didn't ever seem to have done anything wrong. And then somehow, some kind of vasanas, she got put in this position, and something happened, and she began killing all these infants.
Right.
And I find myself wondering. So now she's in prison. She's only 30-something years old. Is there any hope for someone like that?
Well, first of all, the killing could be a burnout. Recently I read that in Japan, they make them work 200 hours overtime every month, 200 hours overtime. And so people have started committing suicide. There are a lot of suicides happening in Japan because of overwork. Or they turn around and kill. Like somebody in this country wouldn't commit suicide. He would take a gun if he's overworked and doesn't like his employer. And we find every day some employer gets killed everywhere in this country. Sometimes 3, 4 in one day. Somebody will shoot in a gas station or go to the office. So they burn out. Either they overwork, or it could be just, I've had it, that mind is gone.
See that.
Yeah, it can be depression, it can be anger, it can be fatigue, it can be just enough. Or again,
What happens to a person like
what
that?
happens to a person like that? No,
the Punya and Papa. She must have had a lot of Papa to go to a good family.
Right.
And then, but now she's
yeah. So Carrie's question is that a nurse who killed a lot of newborns, and now she's going to be jailed for her whole life. Well, we don't know unless you do a psychoanalysis as to why she did what she did. There can be all theories: depression, anger, overwork, fatigue, or just that mind just snapped. Maybe she had a tendency for schizophrenia or some mental disorder, which was kind of covered temporarily with her family, with her work. And then one fine day it just happened. So we don't know unless you can psychoanalyze such an...
Psychoanalysis is required.
Right, psychoanalysis.
Is essential.
Right. And then what happens to this person? Well, she is suffering the consequences of her action. not only in this life, but it may have to go through next future lives
So
too.
say she comes back next life as a worm. You know, so, I mean, so animals don't have karma, right? I mean,
Right.
So did she lose all the punya that she had accumulated? through
No,
life?
the punya will be there. That's why that's why they say if all your good and bad actions get results. So you will get some results of punya. And since her papa is much worse than much more than the punya, she will suffer more time in hell and maybe a little bit of time in heaven. They say this udana vayu takes you back and forth, heaven, hell. And then, yeah, it does. If you have done that, that's how it's not that 100 minus 10, as I said last week. And then this person will be born, and then her next life, if she's born as a tree or a worm or a buffalo, will be to exhaust those negative karmas. And it may be one lifetime, maybe several. And then ultimately, then, then if this person will get a chance to come back. And then when it does, she does. We don't know when that will happen. And again, because whose karmas, and again, those children, it was time for them to go. See, that's the only reason that that particular infant was in that particular ICU, because for him or her life was only that many days. A neonate, they said, okay, so why didn't she kill 9, but why not all the others? Or why were they in her hospital? Why not in another hospital? So which side of karma who is on, we don't know. But because he is the supreme karma phaladata, he keeps track of everybody, and he keeps track of everybody as within us, not that he's sitting somewhere with a computer and writing or making notes. It's not Chitragupta. Each one of us has a little microchip in us that keeps track of our actions, good and bad. And so based on that, we create our own karma. And those little children, that was their only life. They were only supposed to live for 15 days.
Actually, it was their karmas of the newborn
Right.
that they were killed.
Right.
Then and there. Just
Well,
like
think
as
of the
we say
families,
that
the family. I mean, there was a terrible amount of.
Yeah, no, there is suffering, and
That's
same
a lot
thing
of family.
for the parents.
Yeah.
There are a lot of suffering too. So she is responsible, but what I'm saying is it wouldn't have happened if the child's life was not finished. Then otherwise the child would have been in a different hospital. Why was the child in that hospital, in that ICU? And out of 30 children, why did 9 get killed? I'm not saying that she's free of blame, but I'm saying actions happen. There are a lot of factors. And that the parents' karmas, they must have done something that their newborn is. So it's a very, they say, Gahana Karmano Gatihi. The path of karma is very difficult to explain. So rather than worrying about this and that, worry about my karmas. What am I doing? Am I making this world a better place or not? And whatever I am is because of my past karmas, and whatever I'll be in the future is because of my karmas. So Bhagavad Gita Bhagwan is talking to me, not to Arjuna. So that attitude that I am here to, not that selfish attitude, but how can I make my life better and the life around me better? And then, of course, you learn from all these things. I'm not saying you don't read the newspaper, but spending too much time worrying about her, the Lord upstairs, it's his world. He has created her. So let him worry. I just take care of my life. So I try to do that. And then you feel compassion. Also pray for her. See, you have to pray for her. People say, oh, I pray for the children, I pray for the parents. That's very good. But pray for her too, because she's going to suffer a lot. So we should pray not only for the saints, but also for the sinners. I know people say, oh, why should I pray for?
Maybe I should send her Bhagavad Gita. Maybe
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, send her Bhagavad Gita, sure. That will be good. Okay.
that they don't have to go to, but some animals get a good life
Yes,
and some really suffers badly.
right.
So there,
Right.
there's some connection there.
No, that is true. You're very right. Like some animals, like a dog may be born in a very rich man's house, dog is there. He's taken care of better than the child, he gets a gold, sofa, bed, and he's sleeping there and best food. And then some dog is roaming on the street, gets beaten. No, you're right. Even animals have different lives. That's true. And then animals are also sattvic, rajasic, like cow is a very sattvic animal, lion is rajasic, and like a hippo or a crocodile is tamasic. So yeah, in animals also, they have different lives. Yes, very true. Thank you. We'll end here. There will be no Bhagavad Gita class next Sunday. So we'll meet in 2 weeks. So see you all on the 10th of September. Next Sunday, because of Labor Day, we won't have class. We'll end. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramayah. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om. Thank you for joining and thank you for your questions and comments. Thank you.